Good evening. We're back with another episode of the Lord of the Rings LCG Progression Series. And tonight is a card review of the Thing in the Depths adventure pack. It's the second adventure pack of the Dream Chaser cycle. I loved the first one. The cards were great. I liked the design of the quest. And I loved the Grey Havens expansion pack as well. So let's take a look at this one. The hero is Lanwin. It's a Dale hero, a scout, and we haven't seen any Dale synergy yet. 9 threat, 2/3/1, 3 health, ranged. So her stats are not great, but okay. And her threat is okay. It's unusual to have a 3 attack hero from Tactics or from Spirit. What's her ability? Response. After an encounter card with Surge is revealed, either ready Lanwin or give her +2 willpower until the end of the phase. Limit twice per phase. Well, that is interesting. This is not a good hero, absent any Dale or Scout synergies. And the reason it's not good is because the Surge doesn't come up that much, maybe once or twice a game. So once or twice a game she'll have good stats, and the rest of the time her stats are underwhelming, especially for a Spirit hero. That's just not good. There could be, I guess, Dale or Scout synergies that'll buff her. So far we haven't seen it, but absent that, the Surge effect just doesn't go off that much. Maybe 1 or 2 turns, almost never twice in 1 turn. And so this hero isn't good unless it's made for a challenge that I haven't seen yet, or there's synergies that I haven't seen yet. This just is not a good hero. Elda here, 4 cost, 1/2/2, 3 health, Dunedain, Noble. Sentinel, spend 1 lore resource to look at a face-down shadow card dealt to an engaged enemy. If that card has a shadow effect, Elda here gets +2 shields until the end of the phase. Any player may trigger this action limit once per phase. Well, it's an expensive card. It's a good effect. It costs 1 resource to do, so I wouldn't say it makes up for his high cost. I like this card a lot at 2 cost. At 3 cost, it'd be only good in a Dunedain deck. At 4 cost, it's too expensive. But if you played it, well, here's what you would need to do to make it good. Well, it can't be good. If the effect was free, it'd be good. If it was defending every turn at 4 cost. But given that it's unique, it costs 4, and you have to spend more resources to make its effect work. I don't think this is a good card. Consider this. Gondorian Shield is a card that gives you permanently 2 shields, and it costs 1. You have to pay 1 resource every round. You don't always get the +2 shields. And you get a card in the meantime that costs 4 and has 1, 2, 2, 3 stats. Not a good card. It's too expensive. Maybe it's overcosted because it's in leadership. Maybe it's overcosted because Dunedain has some cost reduction. I don't know, but I think that card is too expensive. I don't know. Maybe it's intended for multiplayer. Any player can trigger the effect. It's a Sentinel. Maybe it makes sense there, but in solo play, it's not a good card. Captain's Wisdom, 0 cost. Resource action, exhaust a noble hero you control to add 2 resources to that hero's resource pool. Be great if you could do that every turn. As it is, a one-time use exhaust a hero for 2 resources is only good if you don't have a use for that hero in the round that you do that. If you do have a use for that hero and you're making a choice between... So extra resources are best early in the game, but unfortunately early in the game is also a time when you need a lot of willpower. I suppose this might be good with like Denethor. He's noble, right? So, and he doesn't have a lot to do early game because he doesn't have a lot of willpower. So if you're playing Denethor for the extra resource generation, would you then play Captain's Wisdom also? I think it would work well with Denethor. As an accelerator? Yeah, I think it would work well with Denethor. But what you basically need to make this work is a noble hero who basically won't be missed. And the only reason you're playing a noble hero who basically won't be missed is if he has a really strong ability, which Denethor does. So I think he makes a lot of sense with Denethor, Captain's Wisdom, as an accelerator. I'm not sure if there's another hero it makes a lot of sense with, because usually the other heroes you might play that are nobles, you're going to need them to quest early. Early game, you usually need all hands on deck for quests to overcome whatever willpower challenge is thrown against you by the setup of the quest. Master Ironsmith, 3 cost, 1/1/1, 2 health. Not good stats, so it's its ability. Gondor Craftsman, after you play Master Ironsmith from your hand, if you paid all of its resource cost from a single hero's resource pool, attach a weapon or armor attachment from your hand or discard pile to that hero without paying its resource cost. Okay, so from your hand or discard pile. Well, if you were only able to do it from your hand, you would need a 3-cost weapon to make this a good card. As you could do that from the discard pile, if you're doing it from the discard pile, I think you could do it with a 2-cost card and it'd be pretty good. But how often do you get weapons or armor in your discard pile? And it has the caveat that you have to wait 3 turns to do it. No, I don't think it's good. I think it's too expensive. Unless you have a deck or a quest you're facing where you frequently find yourself with weapons or armor in your discard pile, and you don't mind waiting to play Master Ironsmith until you can pay for all of its resources from a single hero's resource pool. But that card's hard to set up and it's expensive, so I don't think it's good. So far, not impressed with this adventure pack. Captain's Wisdom is okay, but nothing exceptional. Let's take a look at Raymond of War. 2 cost, attached to a warrior character. Raymond of War counts as 2 restricted attachments. Okay. Attached character gets +1/+1 and 2 hit points. Well, has to go on a warrior character. Okay. That's a pretty good effect for 2 cost. I like it. Is Baragon the Warrior? Yeah, of course he is. I think it'd be pretty good on him because Gondorian Shield is not restricted. So this could buff his defense even more. And it would be free on him. That seems great. Oh, Gondorian Shield is restricted. That's too bad. So Baragon can't wear armor and a shield? Well, okay. So if you had to choose between the two, I think you would still choose Gondorian Shield on Baragon. But this would be worth a look. +1 shields and 2 hit points. What other characters would this make sense on? I don't know. I don't think it's an auto-include in a tactics deck. Adding +1 attack is okay. Adding +1 shields is okay. I'd really prefer it if the stats weren't all split up. Like 4 attack or something would be exceptional, or 4 shields. all split up that way, well, it's okay. It's above average. It's nothing exceptional, I don't think. I like it a little bit. I think it's got a spot in some decks. But it's not an exceptional card. Yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about that. It's okay. It's probably near the top of the list for buffs for a warrior character. But it's nothing exceptional. Yeah. Sam Gamgee, 3 cost, 2/1/1, 2 health. Reduce the cost to play Sam Gamgee by 2 if you control Frodo Baggins. Okay, well, if you control Frodo, this is already an auto include, because 1 cost for 2/1/1/2 is great. After a player raises his threat, that player may spend 1 spirit resource to ready Sam. He gets +1/+1 and +1 until the end of the round. Limit once per round. That's great. That's a great card. Now, without Frodo, is he good? He's exceptional with Frodo. If you control Frodo, I would play Sam in every single deck where I control Frodo if I have access to the Spirit Sphere. Would I play him without Frodo? After a player raises his threat, well, you have to be running cards that raise your threat to use this ability reliably. If you are not playing Frodo and you are running cards that raise your threat on a regular basis, would I play Sam? 3 willpower, 2 attack, 2 shields. I think he's exceptional with Frodo. I think he's not that great absent Hobbit synergies without Frodo. So with Frodo, he's an auto include. Without Frodo, he's probably wouldn't include him. Very interesting cards, this adventure pack. Interesting in that the design is... well, it's hard to say what they were going for with this adventure pack. Doesn't appear to be a theme. You've got a Dale card, a Dunedain, a Gondor, a card that works well with Denethor, a card that works well with Frodo. It's kind of an eclectic mix, like leftover cards from other ideas that they just threw together. 11Zs, 1 cost, play only after the staging step. Okay, quest action, choose X questing Hobbit characters you control. Ready each chosen character and remove them from the quest, then reduce your threat by X. Okay, so you play this in a Hobbit deck, and if you've overquested, you can then remove questing characters and ready them back up. And so this is like a oopsie, I don't know what I'm doing, and so I'll play this card to compensate for that. Because generally speaking, you can ballpark how much threat you're going to have to account for and be pretty close most of the time. So at most, if you're playing properly, you might have a use for this for 1 Hobbit. Sometimes, but not often. In which case you could ready 1 Hobbit and reduce your threat by 1. You could, I guess, overquest on purpose with Hobbits, and then, because this costs 1, it doesn't cost X. So you could overquest with all your Hobbits on purpose, and then ready up all the ones you don't need. I guess that's a better use for it. And that's not bad if you have a lot more Hobbits than you're going to need. That's obviously a card for a Hobbit deck. Yeah. I mean, and then you could reduce threat by 1 or 2 maybe. Nah, I don't think that's a good card. It's a fun deck card, I think. A fun thematic Hobbit deck card is my opinion on that one. Mirkwood Explorer, 3 cost, 2/1/0, 2 health. After Mirkwood Explorer quests successfully, place 1 progress on it. Action, exhaust Mirkwood Explorer to move all progress from it to a location in play. Interesting. So you're basically questing with it for 3, as long as you quest successfully every turn. And you get to choose where the progress goes. This is a good card. Good card when you're going to be playing lore. Yeah, I like it because basically, if you're questing successfully every turn with this card, so if you need willpower, yeah, you quest successfully every turn. You only get to quest for 2. I'd prefer 3, but you get 1 progress to place on it each round, and then, well, 1 turn you have to quest for 0, but to compensate you get to move all the progress from it to a location in play, which presumably you'll do when you want to clear a location, which you'll then get a threat discount because that location will be removed from staging or possibly as the active location. I think this is a good card for lore. Not exceptional, but it's good. It's very solid. I definitely play it in a Monosphere lore deck. I might play it in other lore decks, although it's expensive for if you're only running 1 lore hero. Not an auto include in the lore sphere. But if you're running 2 lore heroes, I'd play this card for sure. In pretty much every deck where I was playing 2 lore heroes, I would at least try it out. I don't think it's worth buying the adventure pack for, but it's definitely a good card. Very solid card. Guarded Ceaselessly. 0 cost, attached to a location, exhaust a ranger or scout character to give attached location -2 threat until the end of the phase. Ugh, well, so you have to do that well, you can do it with any ranger or scout character, and some of them don't have a lot to do. Well, I don't think this is good. Because it's only useful until the location goes away. There might be a niche use for it in some decks, though. Like a deck with a location and staging that you don't want to clear right away, that starts there as part of the quest. That situation's not gonna happen very often, but you might have a use for this card in that situation. But I wouldn't throw this in every deck, certainly. Unless you had a specific idea about what to do with it, I wouldn't throw it in there. And it would need to deal with the challenge in a way that no other card could, because this would easily be overshadowed by a lot of other cards. Since you're only going to, typically, for a location, you're clearing locations as soon as they come, within a turn or 2. So you'd need a one-time use exhaust a character for 2 questing progress. Basically, is not good. So you'd need this for a specific challenge, but certainly not an include in every deck. So this adventure pack was odd for me. I like Sam Gamgee a lot with Frodo, but otherwise it seems odd to me. Kind of an eclectic mix of cards from different strategies, different synergies, hobbits, Dunedain, Dale Scout, which we haven't seen yet, really. Noble, hero from leadership, an okay attachment, and a fun hobbit card. This a pretty eclectic mix of cards. I think this adventure pack would be easy to skip if you're not a completionist. Or, basically if you're not a completionist or a collector. Completing all the quests or collecting all the cards, this one would be pretty easy to skip. Pretty easy to recommend skipping this one, especially after the strength of Flight of the Stormcaller, the first adventure pack, and the strength of the Grey Havens. Like the comparison between Flight of the Stormcaller and this one, yeah, that's no comparison at all. So, thanks for watching.